Picture this. You're 60 years old. You've been working for decades. You've woken up early, battled the daily commute, dealt with the stress, paid your bills, maybe raised a family, and honestly, you've done everything society told you to do. Now, the finish line, retirement, is getting really close. But there is one massive catch. You don't have a pension. There's no guaranteed monthly check waiting for you from some former employer. It's literally just you, your savings, and a huge looming question mark. So welcome to today's Explainer, where we are tackling that core gut-level anxiety of reaching 60 after a lifetime of hard work, only to find yourself without that traditional safety net.
If you've ever laid awake at night worrying about running out of money, having to delay your retirement, or worst of all, becoming a financial burden on your family, you are definitely not alone. We're posing the ultimate question today. Can you actually retire at 60 with no pension? Today, we're going to break down exactly what it takes, how much cash you actually need, the absolute biggest mistakes people make, and whether pulling the trigger at 60 is still a realistic goal in today's crazy world.
But before we dive in and crunch any numbers, we actually need to completely shift how we think about this. Retirement is not a biological clock. It's a mathematical equation. Hitting the big 60 doesn't magically mean you can just stop working, but on the flip side, lacking a pension doesn't mean you're doomed to work forever either.
So here is our roadmap for today. 1. The myth of the pension. 2. Doing the retirement math. 3. Navigating hidden retirement risks. 4. When savings fall short. And 5. 2 different retirement realities.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the myth of the pension and the shift from guaranteed checks to personal savings.
You know, back in the day, the playbook was incredibly simple. You worked for one company your whole career, you earned your pension, and you got a guaranteed check for the rest of your life. Today, that world has practically vanished. But, and this is super important, a lack of a pension doesn't mean retirement is off the table. Today, it just means you're relying on your own personal savings, your investments, and smart financial planning to replace that paycheck. Millions of retirees today are living great lives without a pension. If your nest egg can replace your paycheck, you are in business.
All right, moving on to Section 2, doing the retirement math and calculating your target number.
Look, the honest truth is there's no magic universal number. Someone living in a quiet small town might only spend $2,500 a month, while someone living in a major metro area might easily need $6,000. But to actually start doing the math, we have to map out a realistic lifestyle. We've got to factor in the whole shebang: housing, utilities, groceries, healthcare, getting around, insurance, maybe a little travel and entertainment, plus a buffer for when things inevitably go wrong. For our example, let's say we're looking at a total of $4,000 a month. That translates to roughly $48,000 a year. Once you have that annual number mapped out for your own specific life, we can take the next big step.
And that brings us to how financial planners actually find your target number. They use something called the 4% rule. The concept is beautifully simple but really powerful. If you withdraw about 4% of your investment portfolio each and every year, your money has a very strong chance of lasting for decades. It basically gives us a mathematical way to reverse engineer exactly how massive your nest egg needs to be to support that $48,000 lifestyle we just talked about.
So to safely generate that $48,000 a year using the 4% rule, you are looking at a mathematical target of $1.2 million. I know, deep breath. That is a staggering number. And for a lot of people, it literally induces panic. But hold on, don't freak out just yet. Keep in mind, this assumes you are funding absolutely everything out of your own pocket. You might have Social Security kicking in, you might pick up a fun part-time gig, or you might spend way less than $4,000 a month. Every single person's situation is unique, but this number, it gives you a stark, mathematically honest baseline to work from.
Okay, let's look at Section 3, navigating hidden retirement risks and the real threats to your financial independence.
Before we get too hung up on the math, we have to talk about the blind spots. And for early retirees, the absolute biggest, most dangerous blind spot is healthcare. When you're working, your employer is probably eating a huge chunk of your monthly premiums. But the second you retire, that entire burden falls squarely on your shoulders. And let's be real, healthcare gets a lot more expensive as we age. We're talking more doctor visits, prescriptions, dental, unexpected surgeries, and eventually maybe long-term care. Just one major health emergency can completely wipe out your savings. You literally cannot just calculate your grocery and housing bills. You absolutely must build a massive healthcare cushion into your math.
And beyond healthcare, it's often our own behavior that completely derails our plans. Mistake number 1, retiring based on emotion instead of math. I get it, you might hate your job, but hating your job isn't a financial strategy. Mistake 2, underestimating inflation. A basket of groceries today is going to cost way more in 10 years, so your plan has to grow with those costs. Mistake 3 is taking way too much investment risk because you're panicked and chasing high returns.
But conversely, mistake 4 is keeping too much money in cash, where inflation just silently eats away your purchasing power. It's all about balance. And finally, mistake 5, not having an emergency fund. Because cars break down, roofs leak, and life happens. Without cash on hand, your perfect retirement plan will unravel incredibly fast.
Which brings us to Section 4, when savings fall short. Actionable strategies for your retirement.
Let's be completely honest for a second. A lot of folks nearing 60 are checking their retirement accounts and realizing they are painfully short of $1 million. If that's you, please hear this. Retirement is not impossible. You have realistic fallback options to take the pressure off your portfolio. First off, consider just working a few extra years. Pushing retirement back to 63 or 65 is a game changer. It gives you more time to save, more time for compound interest to do its thing, and fewer years your savings actually have to support you. Second, think about part-time work. Consulting, freelancing, a little side hustle, even just bringing in an extra $1,000 a month totally rewrites the math. And third, ruthlessly cut expenses. Downsize the big empty house, move somewhere cheaper, and absolutely crush your debt. Remember, retirement isn't about being rich. It's just about building a lifestyle you can actually sustain.
Let's see how this actually plays out in the real world in Section 5, 2 different retirement realities, and why age isn't the deciding factor.
Imagine 2 different 60-year-olds, both without a pension. Let's look at Sarah. She's got $700,000 saved. Not $1 million, but her expenses are super low, just $3,000 a month, because she completely paid off her mortgage. She's holding off on claiming government benefits to let them grow, and she works a fun part-time job. Her plan? Totally sustainable. Now contrast that with John. He's only got $150,000 saved. His expenses are high, $5,000 a month. He's swimming in debt, and he wants to just completely stop working today. For John, pulling the plug right now is incredibly dangerous. Same age, completely different universes, dictated entirely by their financial realities.
At the end of the day, navigating retirement without a pension means you have to replace hope with cold, hard facts. You've got to run your own numbers, get honest about your expenses, plan for the healthcare stuff, and craft a strategy that actually fits your specific life. Don't look at what your neighbors are doing, and for sure, don't just cross your fingers and hope it works out. Because ultimately, retirement isn't about reaching a certain age. It is about reaching financial freedom. And when you get the math right, it can truly be the most amazing chapter of your life.
A pension is fantastic if you have one, but it's clearly not the only way to cross the finish line. What actually matters is what you've saved, what you spend, and your ability to keep some reliable income flowing. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to ponder as you look at your own readiness and your own dreams. Would you retire at 60 if you had the chance? Thanks for joining us for this explainer. Go run your numbers, build your plan, and take control of your financial